Welcome back, Stoic fam.
Welcome back, Stoic.
This is going to be one of our Securing Your Stoa videos.
This is going to be the first one.
We're going to do, I would like to call it a deep dive. A deep dive.
Dish. Double deep dish.
A deep dish?
Mm-hmm. Dive.
A deep dish dive. I really want a pizza now for some reason. That's not today's topic.
Yeah, not
today's topic is finances.
Money.
Money and all of the problems that come with it.
Mm-hmm.
Not problems. Challenges.
I would say challenges.
Let's call it
challenges.
challenges.
That's a good word.
So why don't you start? Because you had a very good first point.
So, like anything in life, everything that you interact with is a relationship. Whether it be symbiotic or not, it's a relationship. Money and our relationship with money, as people say, money makes the world go round. We're just going to say currency. For now, I'm just going to say currency, and then we'll talk about money because it's the way our currency works. You work for money, so you can pay for stuff. It's value. In America and in most first world places, it's fiat money. It's just a bill or a banknote that represents a certain dollar amount. Back in the day when they had like shillings and stuff like that, or even before that, they had, whatever. There's a bank that says yes.
Gold the bloom.
Yeah. they had some representative of value. And this says that the bank guarantees that if I take this to the bank, they will hand me something in gold or whatever.
We should go back to gold.
Dude, that would be nice. That'd be kind of pimping, honestly.
Where would we keep it though?
Yeah, you'd need a little. That's why those little coin purses. You'd be tossing little sacks of gold to people.
I wouldn't be tossing nobody gold. I'd be hoarding that stuff.
So, anyway, it's your means of trade is kind of what we're getting at. And back in the day, there was bartering and all that, and it was different when you could see it. I'll give it the poker chip example. Is the first and only time I ever went gambling. I was like 18, and they give you poker chips, and I made minimum wage, and back then it was still like $6 or $7. It was pretty low, yeah.
Something.
So I won. I got lucky, and I won a raffle that at the seat I was sitting on, I got $150. So they just gave it to me in chips, and I went from $20 to this random $150. To like $900 in a blackjack's table.
And then lost it all.
No. I kept most of it. And when I realized I messed up is I had bet like 2 or 3 hands in a row of like $200 hands.
Ooh.
And I lost them. And the guy would take the chips away because you lost. Or you put the chips in the deal and he takes them. And I was like, holy crap, that was $200. And I thought about it. I did the mental math in my head. I make $6 an hour. That was like a week's worth of pay that just left me. So I cashed out and I felt better about it. But the stress and anxiety that I felt realizing that I gave up portions of my life for the money I had in front of me, and I was just gambling it away on some game that I had zero control over.
A game.
Literally a game.
A game.
That somebody was just pulling cards out and playing, and it was really stressful. And it hit me that I was being irresponsible, thankfully, before I lost all my money. And I cashed out, and it was a good experience. That relationship was positive. Now, most of my life, I didn't grow up super rich. My parents provided for me, but I didn't have a super cool car growing up. I didn't live in a mansion. I didn't get to eat at Papa Do's every weekend or anything like that. They provided for me, but typically, if I wanted to go do extra stuff, I had to work for it. To this day. Now, all of this stuff is equated in hours that I've spent at work or whatever. And our relationship as a whole is money a thing that enables me to do something, or is this a parasitic relationship? Am I indebting myself to that money? A good quote, it was in Fight Club, I don't know where it's from, but it's the stuff that you own eventually ends up owning you. And all that kind of comes back into money. And a lot of people have a pretty contentious relationship with it, and it causes them a lot of stress. And if you want to bring it back to our Stoic mindset, if I'm applying a logical perspective to this, and I'm thinking about my relationship with it, this thing can either provide me security or stress. And again, part of that, and I totally get it, I've been poor. I've had roommates. I've had all of these things. I've had to work for all of the stuff that I've gotten. But I didn't come out of being poor because I made more money. I got out of that because I changed my mindset with it. I changed the way I looked. I made more money and I saved most of that. Every time I got a raise, I thought, cool, I can have savings now. And still, yes, I could spend more. I could go out to eat more. And we'll talk about this as we move on. But the first aspect of securing your SOA here, from a financial standpoint, is understanding that we have a very broken understanding of what our relationship with money should be. And we can thank credit companies for that and credit cards for that. But that you can artificially inflate your budget and then create what's now a contentious relationship where I'm now giving money to things I should have never had. I'm purchasing things I should have never been able to afford. And now I'm going to be constantly playing catch up and constantly under this stress of trying to kind of get myself out of that. And we'll get into that later on, but the relationship that you have with money is optional. The homeless people don't worry about money. Honestly, financially successful people worried about money for a while and then made good decisions with it, and now they don't worry about money. There's people on complete opposite sides of the spectrum, financially speaking, that have the exact same relationship. They don't worry about how they're going to pay for stuff. Heck, thieves don't worry about how they're going to pay for stuff. They've created a very unique way to deal with their money problem, which I'm not advocating for, obviously, but
at all.
But it's that. Yeah, like I said, can either be a stressor or something that you work towards to have a more symbiotic. It's going to be stressful no matter what, I think, because it's it influences every facet of your life, whether you like it or not. But you can work on creating a better relationship between you and it.
Which leads us to our second point.
Yeah.
How your relationship with money changes with age.
I'm like, should. I'm going to add a should in there. It should change with age.
Well,
and it does no matter what.
It does. Yeah. Sometimes it's a positive relationship. Sometimes it's a negative relationship.
That's true.
So like for me, when I was younger, I never worried about money. I had no need for money because I wasn't out buying things. But once, you turn like 12 or 13, you want your parents to take you to the movies, go see movies with your friends, you want to go roller skating. I used to go roller skating every Saturday. Or maybe it was Friday. I don't remember. I wasn't very good at it.
Skating rings, man.
Skating rings, yeah.
If y'all have never experienced
We're dating ourselves here,
man.
But that's when money started to play a factor into my life. Because before that, I would just go play outside. I'd ride my bike. I'd go play in the woods. I'd go find something to do that required zero money.
Mm-hmm.
Then money became something that I kind of figured out that I needed. So what did I do to get that? I would mow the lawn. I would do chores. I would help my dad, with whatever he needed. And, I'd get an allowance, basically, for doing my chores. So up until my first job, that's basically how I got my money, was an allowance. And it was always cash. And I wish I would have never gotten away from cash. Now I know it's unrealistic to have any kind of modern life with just cash. But I'm just saying the relationship you have with money when it's cash is so much different than when you start getting into credit and using cards and all of that stuff. But up until I could drive, it was just an allowance.
Oh, isn't that the rabbit hole there too?
When you start driving? You need gas money, bro.
Now maintenance. Now you can reach these things that make you want to buy more stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Convenience stores are kind of like the devil for money.
What you have to have something to listen to in your car, so you have to go buy a CD to put in your car. What was your first car?
I had a 94 Camaro. It was pretty cool, actually.
I had a 95 Honda Civic.
Yeah, it had 270,000 miles.
Dang.
I had it. Yeah.
Probably still pretty cool.
It ran. It was a V6. It was automatic, so it wasn't as cool as it could be.
Yeah.
I was very proud of my car.
Still probably
because I had one. It was very cool, but it was.
I don't know why but that just made me think of like, I'm thinking back and thinking about when I first started driving, and thinking about like the first thing that I bought. I bought Linkin Park's first album on CD. First CD I ever bought. That was what I bought at the store. Like, that's what I drove myself to the store to buy, was Linkin Park's first CD.
I think this was still probably the day and age when, like, Napster was probably in its death throes, so you could still probably get it for free. You knew you loved a band when you went and bought their CD.
Oh, yeah.
That was, like, an experience to go to, like, either Barnes & Noble or, like, they had record stores that, like, that's all
I had to go to the mall to, I don't even remember what that place was called, but it was just... It was a music, like a CD store.
You go siphon through little CDs. And
the big old table, the big open top table with all the CDs. And
this is going to be a nostalgia channel now.
We're
talking about CD cases.
I mean,
flipping
the
open
big old,
yeah.
That's how you judged people.
That was a subtle flex. You want to impress a female back then? Bro, you pull out a pretty impressive... And there had to be substance in it, though. You just pull it out.
You had to have like good stuff.
Kids bop, like whatever stuff in there. You needed some good music,
but
anyways, we digress.
We'll move on to some other nostalgia.
Yeah.
So for me, my relationship with money probably detrimentally changed in college.
110%, 100,010%.
I moved on from my paid-off car to a financed F-150. When gas was not cheap, and I used to want to do all of the things all the time, and I would drive anywhere and everywhere, and when I didn't have the sustained funds in my bank account for gas, well, my credit card certainly saved me.
You know, my brother, and he got me saying this, it was back when we were in college, anytime we applied I went completely off of loans for school, if I couldn't pay for it for myself, and I got just regular government loans, and he called it future Josh money. And we would get, like, FAFSA would go release your funds or whatever, and you'd pay for class. You'd always have something left over, and we lived off campus, so we worked full time and paid for an apartment. But anytime I swiped that, it's fine, it's just future Josh money. It's just future Josh looking back, reaching through the internet at you, wanting to smack you in the face.
Oh, dude! If I could go back and choke myself,
I could
so hard.
And I'm not in a ton of debt for college compared to a lot of people, but like, I could have probably had like $10,000 less of debt had I.
I would be willing to say I could have probably bought another house by now with the amount of stupid debt that I have since paid off. I have a much better relationship with money now in my old wise age.
Yes.
But the amount of stupid debt that I carried for a long time, and it only changed in the last 7 or 8 years, probably.
Yeah, I would say for me it's like 5 or 6 that like I started to realize that like
things really changed for me when I moved to Texas. Moving across the country from Michigan to Texas, and really like being on my own, money became a real heavy toll for me.
And that's something, and I kind of want to bring this up as far as your relationship. Everything's on a spectrum when it comes to this stuff, but like as I've gotten older, part of it's a pride thing. You want to be more independent or whatever. It wasn't until no one else was paying my bills that I wasn't you were forced.
And you knew you weren't getting help.
That's what that was the biggest thing is like you can no longer rely. My family loves me, and if I really was absolutely homeless, I could absolutely move back home.
100%.
Pride refuses to allow me to do that.
Yeah.
But like ultimately, your success as an adult is based on, can I make myself a financially viable and independent person, and then more so than that, for those of us that are trying to either make families or add people to our lives, can I be relied upon for XYZ? It's a whole other conversation. But like a huge part of that relationship, and again, ideally, there should be a linear. Be nice if it was exponential, but typically it's just a linear progression in your ability to understand. And we'll talk about financial literacy down the road, but like in this video, but like it is such a hard. That is a very hard learning curve when you're young and you're given the ability to get debt and to make dumb financial decisions. For every cent I spent as a kid.
Do you remember? Well, I assume they did it when you were in college. The little canopies and tables of the credit card companies.
Yep. Oh,
that would be set out there
every single
like the
one.
first week of school.
Hey, just in case you got to go buy that extra book you didn't realize, or you got to go get whatever.
Dude, it's insane.
I remember I had a jogging class, and this chick was like, "Oh yeah, I just
you had a
maxed out."
jogging class.
It was a jogging class. I had one more credit hour I had to finish. It was a jogging. Hey, we ran though.
Whatever.
I had
weightlifting 101, 102, 103, and eventually
just this chick that was in there was like, "Yeah, I gotta make payments on my." She said it was her Victoria's Secret card. And I was like, oh, okay. And she had $4,000 on a Victoria's Secret card. And I was like, yeah, I didn't have any credit cards at the time outside of my college debt. And I was lucky for that. Like, my mom made me very scared of credit cards. And I just kind of like tried to wrap it. I was like, that's $4,000. Even at the time, I was like, on underwear. Maybe there's some perfumes in there. Maybe but I was
sweatpants? Did they have that
I think,
stuff
I
out
think
yet?
It was back then, yeah. But, I mean, you're talking, like, $4K plus interest. And this is probably, like, and we're going to get in a little bit of numbers here, like 28% interest?
I would say minimum 21.
Yeah.
I think most store credit cards are like...
On $4,000?
Yeah, and especially on a college kid with no debt.
Every month, dude.
Yeah, you're barely just paying the minimum.
Anyways,
and it's not like she was using that for financial gain on OnlyFans.
No.
Because it wasn't around back then.
Yeah, no way. That's the case. It's an investment. This is not an expenditure. This is an investment. But anyways, it's such a predatory. You want to look at like loan sharking or payday loans and all that kind of stuff. Like
no, it's just credit card companies.
But it is my goodness, like just the
that's predatory all on its own.
Oh, anyways, we go on that, but like you're as you get older. Mostly out of just necessity, you kind of learn that money's just like this like awful friend you kind of have just to deal with the rest of your life. I think it's kind of like a sickness that just slowly kind of kills your soul.
But you also learn if you want a house, if you want substantial assets, you have to learn and understand, and you have to kind of seek out that information because we can just roll this into financial literacy. You don't get taught about money.
No,
your parent I'm sure there are some parents out there that are very aware of what their kids are going to grow up into and deal with, and do a great job of teaching them about money, but most parents, most people don't think about it like that. They don't think, oh, I need to teach my kids about this. They think, oh, they'll just, they'll learn about it like I did.
I figured it out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I figured it out. They'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Or they think, oh, they got to be teaching them that in school, right? No.
No. Big no.
I didn't learn a single thing about money in school. Like, thinking back, all the math classes I had to take, not one of them, because I never went out of my way to take any accounting classes. It wasn't exercise science related.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, and even then, like even in accounting, like it's this like abstract business related like accounting, and you can
and it's fake money. It's not your money. It's fake money.
It's different.
You don't have that personal relationship with it.
It's different where if you don't balance your checkbook, you could be homeless.
Right.
Or destroyed.
100%.
Or whatever. So yeah.
This topic has been, I don't know, expanded for me lately. Starting my own little journey into my personal finances, and I dug my way out of debt, and it was by no means fun or easy. And there were months where I used to sweat how I was going to pay my bills and looking around my apartment for what I could sell to make sure that I paid my rent. Yeah. Somehow I figured it out. I would never wish that upon anyone because the stress of money is probably one of the most stressful things to deal with as a person. But since my little real estate journey has begun, I've started reading books on finances, on real estate, on investing, on financial literacy, let's say, and learning how to make my money more than just like a number in my bank account has been substantial. And yes, I'm still learning because this is all very new for me.
Yeah,
But
I still
just
learn every day. Yeah,
just the idea and thought of like how you can take money and invest it, let's say.
yeah,
Invest in something that then turns into an asset, which then turns into actually making money for you.
Mhm.
Well, now you've just figured out the game.
Well, and it's a bullet point that we kind of wrote out here is like an asset versus like a liability.
Right.
And another way to kind of articulate it would be like an investment versus just an expenditure. This pizza's delicious. I need calories. I need to eat, but once I've consumed it, it's gone.
Right.
I buy myself a hammer, and it's a tool that yes, I can go hit a nail once, but I can hit 10,000 nails, and if I can get someone to pay me to hit nails for a living,
there you go.
It's now an investment
and an asset
Uh-huh.
because you're in turn getting paid for doing that.
That hammer and pizza probably cost the same, but that hammer
pizza might cost more.
Honestly, depending if it's a good pizza, it probably does.
Yeah.
But it's if you start to kind of like brass tacks really like evaluate the way that you spend money, you're going to have to eat food. You're going to have need electricity for a modern lifestyle where you have cell phones.
Yeah, there's some things that you can't completely cut out.
Transporting yourself to work and back, even at the very minimum, if you have to walk, you're gonna have to buy new shoes more often because you're walking a lot.
Right.
And we'll talk about cost of living in a little bit, but like you can't ever completely eliminate cost, but you can be smarter about how you evaluate and prioritize that cost. I think the biggest thing that I learned in like the last couple of years was like, where am I literally just pissing money away? Like for fun. One of the things that made me mad the other day was like I realized I hadn't used like Hulu in like 6 months.
Dude.
And it had just been hitting I was like, that
was Netflix for me.
Like $90 that I spent on something to just give money away. And it's not that, I still use it now. I watched a movie on it recently. But like, from a expenditure standpoint, that was a bad deal.
That's another thing that gets people, I think, is that when you sign up for that automatic payment deal.
Yep. Just hit your
when it just comes out of your account and like, if you don't look at your account and like keep a steady eye on your balance.
This isn't insurance. This isn't my mortgage. This isn't any of that. On just random, whether it's Amazon, Hulu, all that kind of stuff. I think I did the math. I think I lose like $180 a month.
Dude, how scary!
Random stuff.
How scary is that Amazon button where you can just hit buy now and
buy
it just
now.
charges your credit
straight
card.
to it. It knows everything. I don't need to. I'm not going to look at anything. The shipping cost, whatever. I want this now.
I want this. Yeah. Buy it now.
And it's not like they've just made it easier. Again, it's like the poker chips. Mm-hmm. It's just it's easier to let go of 3 pieces of plastic than it is $300 bills.
It's so scary.
And so I think learning how to evaluate, hey, is this a good way to spend money? Is it better for me to buy in bulk for groceries because I'm spending less per unit and it won't spoil? You shouldn't buy 800 bananas for the year. They're not going to last you the month, and you just spent, I don't know how much that's a lot. That's a lot of money for bananas.
That'd be a lot of money.
You might eat that many in a year, but it's a bad investment. Because you're going to have to throw most of it away.
Dude, anyone eating 800 bananas a year has a problem.
That's a lot.
That's too much. You should talk to someone.
And we'll get into nutrition later. But
that's too much. It's too many bananas.
But,
you're not a chimpanzee.
Yeah, it was a learning thing. I didn't realize how often I would blow money going out to eat all the time.
Dude.
And randomly, and again,
it just adds up.
It's like death by 1,000 cuts.
And let's lump that into DoorDash. You don't even have to go out to eat. They bring it to your door.
You get
they drop it off.
And I'm not trying to trash on DoorDash here because I think it's a brilliant solution to a very modern problem, but you're paying extra money For cold French fries.
Like a lot of extra money.
Like for cold French fries.
I think
really chew on that.
I think we did the math one time. This was before I was on a diet, so don't judge me. We were gonna DoorDash Arby's. And I go hard on Arby's, okay? I love roast beef sandwiches.
Just go ahead and sponsor us.
Okay? I love the curly fries. I love the Jamocha shakes. And I love the mozzarella sticks. So I go hard on Arby's, okay? Judge me all you want. We put our order in on DoorDash, and it ended up being like, I want to say close to $60 with the food, the delivery fee, the tip for the driver, and whatever else. We went, so the delivery wouldn't go through. There was some issue with the delivery or whatever, and I was like, no, I want Arby's. Looks like we're getting in the car and driving up there.
Sure, yeah.
It saved us $35.
And again, it's not that the person delivering this meal is not worth every bit of those $35. This person deserves to be compensated for the time. They had to get in their car. They had to come take it to me. And there's a convenience fee and all that stuff, and their time's worth something. But the idea that the $3 worth of gas it's going to cost for me and 15 minutes of my time to go pick up this Arby's and go bring it back to myself, you just make it. It's a constant, like, cost-benefit, like, analysis. And you just kind of... If I could sum this entire thing up into one thing, it would be that. Constantly evaluate, what am I really getting out of this? And am I burning this money for funsies, just in a bonfire? Or am I putting this together like bricks to a house that I can eventually go generate wealth? One of the things I wanted, and we wrote on here, it was wealth versus rich.
Yeah.
And I don't remember where I read this. Someone did a study in Florida of all of the people that ever won like their version of the lottery. And they said that like over... I think it was 17 or 70. I don't remember the number, but it was a decent chunk of them ended up broke within 5 years.
Oh, I think it's a huge percentage.
And these are people that are making $200 million,
huge,
like $180 million.
Well, it's because their habits don't change.
Well, and that's kind of what you will adjust your expenditure without adjusting your income. You'll go from making, I don't know, $30,000 a year, get cut a $180 million check. Quit your job, because I would quit my job too if I had that much money.
I for sure would quit my job.
But then you just spend it. And you're spending it because, I have $180 million, so I can go spend whatever. You'd be surprised how many cars, and again, ridiculous interest rates and stuff like that you might run yourself into, that you have, you go buy this huge house that's got property taxes associated with that.
That you can pay for a year.
Yeah.
And then you're out of money.
And you just blow through.
Let's hit the other side of that coin.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you get a raise?
Yeah.
Most people
spend it.
Exactly.
Yeah, spend
They've already spent it.
Yep. Well, I'm going to get this raise in January.
We get a raise every year.
Yep.
Not every year, but we know what our raise schedule looks like.
Yeah.
I guarantee you there's people
already spending that
at our job that have already spent that money.
Yep.
Well, I can afford this now on my credit card. My raise comes in 6 months. So I'll just pay it off then.
And they'll look at making more money as a means of spending more money as opposed to creating more, I'm getting back to this word, security.
There it is.
It doesn't mean don't spend. It just means invest when you can and try to minimize senseless spending. You might get, I'll give a good example of this, a PS5, right? So PS5 is pretty expensive, right? This thing's what, $500?
Yeah.
For 4 games?
$400 or $500.
And I don't know how much the membership costs for that, but let's look at it this way. If you're going to go to the movies every weekend to go entertain yourself, that's how you work on your mental health. There's value in that to you.
Can you go to the movies right now?
No, probably not.
They might be back.
Or let's say, I don't know, whatever your hobby is.
Redbox.
Something.
How
right?
expensive is freaking
If
Redbox?
every single time you go to go do that, you're spending X amount of dollars. Or you can buy 4 games and a PS5 and entertain yourself for the rest of the year. If that's all you did, and someone might be real judgy of somebody that plays that much video games or that amount of video games in a year.
Not if you live stream it.
There's that. We're getting back to that. But if this guy just entertained himself for a year for under $600 or $700,
yeah,
and he makes the same amount of money as the guy that's going out to the bar every single week. I was talking about video games. even if that video game seems like a frivolous expenditure, it really isn't. You've invested it in a more sustainable way of entertaining yourself. I can justify that with reason and logic and say it's a good investment.
Plus, also on that topic, now that the PS5 has come out,
Mhm.
I did a little like thinking about how long I've had my PS4.
Mhm.
It's been like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
So you break that $500 down over five
Over
or
five,
six
6
years.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'd say that's probably worth it.
To entertain yourself.
Yeah.
You didn't have to buy a DVD player.
Nope.
You didn't have to buy a Blu-ray player.
And honestly,
Mhm.
I haven't bought a ton of new games.
Yep.
And when I do buy games, I usually look for the ones that are on sale in the online store.
Yep.
Like, you know.
So even if it's simply for the sake of, again, something is, and again, this is a 1%er type of situation. There's somebody that's going to go buy whatever Call of Duty. There's some guy out there making $300,000 a year to play Call of Duty.
Yeah.
His
you're right.
his $500 investment plus the game plus, again, let's be honest, tens of thousands of hours in the gameplay, but
Yeah.
he's making more than I am. He's making more than doctors are.
For now.
For now, And
Making more than us for now.
For now.
You know why? Because we're working on our financial literacy.
Yeah.
We're learning how to be more secure with our money and build wealth.
So it's making more money isn't creating security. Like getting a raise isn't working overtime at your job or having a side hustle doesn't create financial security.
What happens when you lose your job?
Exactly. What happens when that side hustle dries up? What happens when you make a bad investment?
What happens when there's a global pandemic?
If you are not prepared to pivot financially, or if you are not preparing yourself in a continuous state to adjust to that or adjust your lifestyle, or if you're not constantly evaluating your lifestyle for that, you can't create savings. You can't create, again, good investment. Enough good investments can protect you from almost anything.
Mm-hmm.
And for everything else, there's insurance. So like it's honestly, it's
and a little bit of luck.
and a little bit of luck. But I mean, like it's you'd be amazed how different. And bringing it back to your relationship with money changes.
Yeah.
I've seen. There was a friend of mine in high school. The kid had his parents bought him candy dispensers, a candy machine, and they bought him like 3, and he had them in like gas stations. And every week that was his job. He would go and restock these things until the money that was made after him paid his parents back, and then he owned them. Dude owns like 50 now, and he makes, I don't know, probably like $4 or $5 a month off
Just
of
off something
candy
silly
machines.
like that.
And that's impressive.
Well, and I think that's another huge thing.
Yeah.
They don't. That's something you're never going to learn in school.
Nope.
He was lucky that he had parents that allowed him that lesson. And I think that's where I'm like the most shocked with all of the learning that I've done in the past few months. It's like, it's not that hard to getting to investing.
Yeah.
It takes some creativity. It takes a little bit of skill. It takes a little bit of knowledge that you have to go out and seek on your own. And yeah, it takes a little bit of money. But if you have a career and a job, there's no reason that you can't save money to then invest into something. I'm not going to tell you what to invest in.
No, we're not financial advisors. Yeah, we both
not
made
my
our mistakes.
place.
Yeah.
You can do your own research and see what you want to do, but it's not that hard to get into it and then play the long game with it. Mm-hmm. Play that slow, methodical, take chances and take risks, but you're still building on your investments that can then in turn pay you back.
And it's not just investments, and people typically think about like stocks and bonds. It could be training. It can be, again, real estate investing.
It could be a camera and a computer that you then use to start your own YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Huh, look at that.
Crazy.
Crazy, huh?
So, but it's a lot more diverse than I think people let it off to be. And a lot of people think, go get your 9-to-5 job, go get your 401k.
Well, I think people think investing's only for rich people.
Yep.
Like, oh, those people that invest have all this disposable income.
No.
Well, if you do a little bit of research, the information's out there. It's not hard to find.
Well, and they have prioritized investing versus expenditure,
Right.
and there's a difference there.
I think the biggest thing that I've learned through this whole thing is these people, before becoming wealthy and before they wrote books that everyone wants to read,
Yeah.
or before their YouTube and Instagram and Facebook hit 1 million subscribers and all of this, they lived a very modest lifestyle.
Yeah.
They were not out steak dinners and drinks every night and driving Lamborghinis that they couldn't afford. Like, they just weren't out doing it. They lived a modest lifestyle, made good decisions, had a healthy relationship with their money, and it paid off.
And I would even say, and a lot of people will also talk about like trust fund kids, or again celebrities that have most. You can't tell you how many times you watch these people, if they've never learned financial literacy, end up broke.
Athletes.
End
Look
up
at,
broke.
look at the NFL.
Oh my goodness!
I don't know what the percentage is. I know it's ridiculous. Within a year or two of players getting out of the NFL, which you don't have a very long career in the NFL anyways.
Yeah, what is the average like for a running back? It's like 4 or 5 years.
I think it's 2 or 3 years
If
at
that.
this point.
Yeah.
Like, with as crazy as the game has
God,
been.
God bless y'all. I hope you guys
Oh
are
yeah,
man. Y'all,
no kidding.
Goodness.
But they're broke, within sometimes months. It seems like.
Yep.
Because
they make
of
way more money than I could
well,
ever
yeah,
dream of.
but they never learned how to manage it. They trust probably the wrong people who come off with good intentions and here, let me manage your funds for you while I just stuff my pockets with your money.
Let me manage your funds for you.
Yeah.
Here it is. And that's the other thing as far as financial literacy and all of that stuff. Take control of that. You should be consenting to all of the financial investments that you are making because they're ultimately
it's your money.
Your investments. Don't get me started on taxes. The way that people spend my tax-paying money, but ultimately, like what you're doing is taxes is simply investing in the infrastructure of countries and governments, right?
And
we could that's
other countries apparently.
Yeah.
But
that's a whole other rabbit hole we're getting into. But like you in a healthy and unfortunately capitalistic situation, like you can't avoid that. Nobody in a non-capitalist society has investments.
It's true,
or at least they don't have the ability to do
that. Probably is the place where only rich people get to invest.
Yes.
And they probably work in the government.
But legitimately, I've seen a kid with a bicycle be like, "Hey man, I can deliver newspaper, or I can go." Who is it? This kid is one of those like cool like lemonade stand stories. He like moved mail or something crazy like that. He did something. It was weird. I saw it on an article, but he always rode his bike anyways, and he saw that he started something where either he like checked to make sure people's like porch pirates weren't doing stuff.
Oh, okay.
It was weird. It was interesting, but he like found a way to monetize his bicycle, which I was like, that's brilliant.
Well, let's talk about the kid that's on YouTube that plays with toys and does like toy reviews. That kid made like $11 million off of YouTube.
I got a cute cat. Take pictures of the cat. I'm gonna monetize this what should just be an expenditure. I'm gonna it blows my mind. To really
probably take booty shots and put those on Instagram.
OnlyFans. Telling you, man.
I'd subscribe.
I'm just saying.
Let's move on from financial literacy because we could talk about that for an entire day.
I'm going to lump two things in together just so I don't make this video super long. Value is always going to be subjective. I just kind of want to, whether it's property value, whether it's whatever, value is what someone is willing to pay for something. And then again, value in said currency is going to be what everyone agrees on. The bank will typically be the one that sets the standard, but like, again, if you look at Germany post World War One, they went from paying for stuff in single bill notes to buckets of them, just because their economy collapsed. Inflation, you go YouTube what inflation is, and it's like horrible, like the death of money. But it's value is always going to be subjective. It's going to be different for you than it's going to be for me. It's going to be different for other people as far as how they value your time or how they value your skill set, the skill set that you're attaining, and the value that they may or may not have. all of that stuff's going to be very subjective. And it all kind of wraps into cost of living. And cost of living is going to come down to values. Because, like, if I want, for instance, New York, right? Big old city. I want a penthouse in New York. I'm going to pay
a premium.
I don't know,
Insanity.
$18,000 a month for rent.
Insanity.
For a 1,400 square foot apartment, which is still a big apartment. But that, I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars a month.
I think you're overshooting that a little bit. You're
Yeah.
probably getting like 800 square feet.
Or whatever it is. Because I want to be in the center of one of the largest hubs of international travel there is. I want to live on the top floor. I want to have a butler. I want to have a security guard in front of my thing. I don't know. I want my helipad to go land on top of whatever. Anyways, there are certain things that if they're important to you, you will pay for them because you find value in them. Cost of. I want to eat only the nicest food. I want the good deep dish pizza.
That's right.
Not little. I don't want it. I'm not hitting on Little Caesars.
I want it to cost more than my hammer.
Exactly. Yeah, I need it to cost more than my hammer.
But I think that's a two-sided coin.
Yeah.
So I think cost of living.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, it costs a certain amount to live certain places.
Mm-hmm.
But it also costs you a certain amount to live a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing we mean by cost of living. It's the cost of your lifestyle. And only you decide how much your lifestyle costs you.
And what it's worth to you. Because ultimately, if I don't mind living paycheck to paycheck, I could have a much bougier setup than I do now. I could have if I didn't care about savings, if I didn't care about any of that, there was a ton of stuff I would already have.
Mm-hmm.
I have my imaginary, if I was less financially responsible money already spent in my head. Because I have wants and hobbies. Oh yeah. But again, I've adjusted that because I don't want the stress of living like that. I've lived like that before. It's very stressful. I don't ever want to do that again. And so I take the value of my security over the value of this lifestyle that I absolutely could afford but choose not to because, again, I didn't need 2020 for me to think, maybe just in the off chance that something goes bad, maybe I should keep some stuff prepared for that eventuality if it does happen, which it did.
Mm-hmm. And I will say, we do not underestimate how lucky we were through 2020.
Absolutely. I was very fortunate that my job was completely unaffected. If anything, I couldn't work enough, in our jobs. And it's like, part of that is luck. Part of that, there's nothing I could have done about that. I'm blessed to have been in that situation.
But
there was a price to be paid for that.
Let's roll that into the connection here we have with the whole securing your STOA. That comes down to preparedness. Mm-hmm. Being financially secure is a huge part of being prepared. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do a whole video on preparedness, but we just want to make the connection here that this isn't securing your STOA with 7 different things. This is securing your STOA with 7 subjective things that we think all wrap into the security portion of that.
And I guess with all of it, again, finances is something we're all affected by. No matter what, I don't care where you live. I don't care what language you speak. I don't care what planet you live on. There's some semblance of
Except
trade.
Maybe the Amazon.
Maybe the Amazon.
If you live in there.
There's some semblance of trade. If you live in a social society, there's trade. Even if it was just in time, you have to value that time in a certain way. I'm going to spend a certain amount of time chopping wood and a certain amount of time building my shelter or whatever it is. We trade a lot of that for money. Yep. And we, again, spend time either at work or doing something like this for money. And then use that investment to invest in other things. Just try to prioritize that. Try to really think about, the value that we're putting in. We're going to expand a little bit more on this. We're going to maybe try to hopefully bring... we'll try to find like a cool financial advisor or something.
I'm sure
some
we'll.
Cool tips.
I'm sure we'll bring something to our Stoic fan that is very valuable.
There is no...
Do you like that? Valuable?
I like it. There's value to it. But
we're trying to add value to your life.
Yeah, really, instead of panicking and instead of feeling out of control of it, you'd be amazed at how many small things you can change. Even when I was in college and I was super broke. I lived paycheck to paycheck. I had a roommate in a 1-bedroom, 500. I literally had a roommate that lived in my living room, just so we could make it cheaper for us to live there in our like super methed out apartment. You know, and there were times where we would just share buying groceries together and make meals together, and we lived off of like ramen and beans and stuff like that because we wanted to get our education and we wanted to be able to live in an affordable. I didn't want more debt to go live on campus, so I worked full time and lived off campus to reduce my debt. There was still dumb stuff that I bought. I was a young dumb kid, so I didn't, I couldn't help myself. But there was, even in that situation, there was things that I was able to control that made that relationship less contentious. And again, that security that I was able to create for myself actually allowed me to spend more on like frivolous stuff. Again, I could afford more expenditures because I had the security to do it.
And probably built your relationship with money a little bit.
Exactly. I was very good at forecasting and spending money. At this point, I almost don't even need to look at my bank app or whatever it is to know how much money I have in there because I'm so used to making that calculation.
The struggle really develops your relationship one way or the other.
Yeah. So endure the struggle. It does get better if you're making, putting work towards it and you work on that relationship. But as always,
stay stoic, bro.